Hello and welcome again. What a pleasure to have you again to the Dr. Simone Show, given to you and brought to you by the wonderful and illustrious J Bell Entertainment. Again, I'm Dr. Simone. I am here with you, and it makes me feel so good every Saturday to know that I will be spending my afternoon with all of you. So, this is the show that helps you to become your better self. This show that speaks to relationships and how we view ourselves and how we go through life. And today, this show will be no different. This show today is near and dear to my heart because I was involved in one of these situations in my life growing up. And it was so hard and it was so difficult. And I went through so many emotions. And even as adults, we go through these types of relationships. The types of relationships that I'm talking about are abusive relationships. Those relationships that lack reciprocity, the give and take, the equal. Those relationships that tear us down and rip us apart and put definitions on us that are not who we are, but we get beat down so much that we begin to believe them. Those types of relationships that just takes your energy and sometimes, unfortunately, takes some people's lives. Yes, like I said, I was involved in one of these relationships. And it was during a time when I was in my mid-20s and I wasn't really feeling good about myself. But it was also a type of relationship that I grew up witnessing, a type of relationship that didn't seem out of the norm for me because part of my mental thinking was, if my man did not beat me, my man did not love me. But I have since grown to know that that was not true. So abusive relationships are hard, but they're nothing, especially if you find yourself in one, they're nothing to be ashamed of. They're nothing to feel that you can't get out of. But many times we do find ourselves feeling as if this is our last resort. And that's also because of the mental abuse and the beatdowns that a lot of us suffer within these relationships. So an abusive relationship, and if you see me looking down, remember I say I like to put a lot of notes down because I want to get everything in this little time with you and I don't want to forget anything. So abusive relationships are when we care so little about ourselves that we feel or deserve, or we feel we deserve what we're getting in a relationship or a partnership. And there are many reasons why we get into these relationships. Like I said earlier, there are relationships or types of relationships that we've seen modeled. There are types of relationships that we've seen and been a part of, so it becomes second nature or what is natural for us. But there are also other reasons why some of us find ourselves in these abusive relationships. And the first one is fear of being alone. A lot of us, especially as we get older and we see all of our friends and people around us getting married and having children, and maybe it didn't happen for us, we begin to feel as if we should just settle with what we get. We should just settle with what we think has been sent to us. And that starts our mind wandering down a road of, I'm too old to start over, or I'm not good enough to start over, or I better be glad that somebody is looking at me now instead of me being by myself. But we have to understand that even if we have a fear of being alone, what that really translates into, or one thing that translates into, is that we don't know ourselves enough. Because if you have a fear of being alone, that means that you feel that you need someone else to make you complete. But just like you come into this world by yourself, you're going to go out by yourself. So if you're looking for someone else to make you complete, you'll never have your own power and you'll never find it because people change. And if you're connected to someone who you feel has all of your worth and everything and your future in their hands and they change, guess what? Your future change, your plans change, how you feel about yourself changes as well. So we feel that we need to go ahead and settle and just take what we get. We have a fear of being alone. But what I was going to say is, if you love yourself enough and be your own best friend, you'll never be alone. But a lot of us aren't brought up like that. A lot of us don't feel like that about ourselves. Another reason we find ourselves in these abusive relationships is negative definitions that were placed on us by others. It could have been growing up. You're so ugly, you're so fat, you're so crazy, you're so whatever, and you better be glad somebody wants you. You're not good enough, you're never going to get a job, you're never going to amount to anything. So the negative definitions that we allow others to put on us become what we view ourselves to be. And when somebody finally takes an interest in us, the first thing we say is, oh my God, with all of this bad stuff that's happening with me, I'm nothing. And this person wants me. So I better try to keep this person because they know, how bad I am. And we begin to believe all those bad things that people had tried to tell us before. Another reason is a cycle that's been seen, a learned behavior. Remember I said earlier, it's something that people have in their relationships or in their spheres or in their neighborhoods or what have you, or in their family line, and they see it. So it's kind of like a learned behavior. It's a cycle that needs to be broken when you realize that you're involved in it. Codependent relationships is another one where you'll say, well, I'm with him because he does this, and I'm with her because she does that. And if I leave him or she leaves me, then I'm not going to have this. So we depend on each other for this and that and the other. But one of you in the relationship is being, treated far worse than the other person. So it's something that we're feeding off of each other, and it's nothing positive. That's why the relationship stays negative. Another reason is, like I said, and this came up again, just a preconditioning of what we feel within ourselves. Sometimes, when you say generational, also people look at it and say, during people's religion, we were told, you get one husband and you stay with one husband and no matter what he does, so sometimes in different places, people have had that as well. So abusive relationships can happen to anyone, can happen at any time. We just have to have a strong enough mind to keep it out and to know who we are and what we bring to the table and how amazing and great and everything that makes a person a worthwhile person that we are. We encompass those things. But even, it's easier said than done many times, but it's not to say that it's impossible. So we're getting ready to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about these relationships, what these types of relationships cause within the person that is being abused, that is at the hand of feeling the wrath and the things that are being given to them that's unfair. So again, this is the Dr. Simone Show, brought to you by J Bell Entertainment Television in Jamaica. They're going to take over the world. Remember that. Watch that. Remember I said it. So when we get back, like I said, we're going to talk about what these relationships cause within a person's well-being in their spirit, in their soul, when they're a part of these relationships. Do not go anywhere. Stay right here. And we are back. You are watching the Dr. Simone Show on J Bell Entertainment Television. The international, they're going to take over the world. They are for the people, and anything for the people I am for as well. So we're talking about abusive relationships, and just to recap slightly, what we went over in the beginning is why some of us allow these relationships to happen to us, why we feel or find ourselves staying there because we feel that that's the best we can do, or whatever the reason is. I'm not going to recap because I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm quite sure that this video will probably play over it. You'll be able to get them in the beginning because I want to make sure I get everything out. So on this part, we're going to talk about what these types of relationships cause the person on the other end, how these relationships make people on the other end feel. When I mean on the other end is the people who are suffering at the hands of an abuser. Okay, so these relationships can cause, in the person that is being abused, loss of self and self-esteem. You lose who you are. You forget and never grow the seeds within you that caused you to be the wonderful person you are. You lose your sense of self. You become either the abused person's shadow, or you become the person that the abuser is telling you that you are. You don't know who you are, so you lose self and self-esteem. Self-esteem is self-worth, feeling that you're good enough, you're better than this, and you bring a lot to the table, and you're a worthwhile individual. Self-esteem. That's something that a lot of us suffer with, will struggle with as we get older, and some of it, for many of us, it stays with us as we get older, as we go into adulthood. Another thing that these relationships cause is anxiety. When you're walking around all nervous and you're working around all shaky and you don't know what's going on, and oh my goodness, and you hear one thing and you jump, depending on the type of abuse that you're receiving. You hear something and you jump, because you're on edge all the time. It causes you never to relax. It causes you never to be happy. It causes you never to enjoy the times and spaces in life that you are meant to enjoy, that you find yourself in. So it causes anxiety. It also causes stagnation in your goals, which means when you feel like you're not worth anything, you don't go out and do anything. So it stops you from growing. It stops you from, again, finding who self is and exploring different avenues and exploring different relationships and exploring different people and places and jobs and everything else. It keeps you stagnant. It keeps you right in that little box that you find yourself in when this person is doing this to you. It also causes, which is very, very near and dear to my heart because I have a story on this, it causes suicidal thoughts. Some people have dealt with it for so long. Some people have just had enough of it. They don't know which way to turn. They don't have friends. They don't have family. They don't have a sense of self-esteem, and they find themselves wanting to end it all, and some people do. So abusive relationships can cause the person being abused to have suicidal thoughts, feeling that the world would be better without them in it. Another thing that these types of relationships cause is a passing down of these behaviors to any children or people that you care for, because they see you going through it, and the next thing you know, they think that it's okay, even if it doesn't feel okay. They see that you've gone through it, and they look at you, and they look at you as their role model, as that person, as that greatness. And if they see you doing that or going through that, then they, pick it up and then pass it down. And that's a cycle that no one wants to pass down to their children or their loved ones. Also, abusive relationships keep you from knowing exactly what true happiness is, because you get used to all of the struggle and strife and heartache and pain and everything else. You get so used to that when true happiness comes, you can't even recognize it. When true happiness comes, you don't feel you deserve it. When true happiness comes, you don't know how to deal with it. So a lot of times when people come to me, they say, well, why can't I find this person? And because you don't know what to look for, because you've been beaten down for so long, you don't know what to look for. So it causes you to not just appreciate, but even be able to spot what true happiness is for you. And that's very sad, by the way. I was there as well, and that's another story. If you want to hear my story, either you can buy my book or you could call me, but it's a story. And I didn't even put all the story in my book, but you can get that. It also causes isolation. Not only will you isolate yourself because, you'll feel that you're not good enough. You feel that you're not comfortable enough in your own skin to be around other people. But the person who causes or gives the abuse a lot of times tries to isolate you from other people so that they can't get in your head and let you see what's transpiring and how you're being treated and how you should be treated better. They like to isolate you because that also gives them power over the situation. So, and there are really a lot of other things these types of relationships cause, but these are the big ones. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are really the big ones, especially suicidal thoughts. I want you to know that abusive relationships are never, even if it's a woman to a man or a man to a woman, it's never good. Relationships are supposed to bring love, happiness, reciprocity, a building together, conquering the world, having those wonderful feelings, not feeling beat down, betrayed, ugly, wrong, stupid. The world would be better off without you, like you're ugly, like you're just nothing, like you're under someone's shoe. Abusive relationships are never good, and suicidal thoughts are never good. So when we get back, we're going to close the show, and we're going to talk about the people who do this and what do they think they gain. We'll be right back. Dr. Simone Show, J Bell Entertainment Television. And we're back from our break, and you are watching the Dr. Simone Show on J Bell Entertainment Television. So we're talking about abusive relationships. We're going to talk about what the people who give the abuse get, what they feel that they get from the situation. The first thing is control and power. They feel that they can control you and take your power away because it makes them feel big and strong and powerful and in control, because there's something within their life that maybe they feel that they're not able to control. So if they can control you, they find control somewhere. But you can't let anybody take your power, because you are better than that. Because of their low self-esteem, they feel, again, that they gain, like it's kind of like they suck from you to gain what they're lacking. So they feel that they gain something. They feel that they gain the upper hand. It helps them along with other things like jobs and other people. But trust me, just like they're abusing you, somebody somewhere is abusing them and taking their strength too. So they're trying to get from you what's being taken from them many times. Many times it's a learned behavior. Some people say, this is how I grew up, and this is how my daddy treated my mommy, or this is how my mommy treated my daddy, and this is all I know. So they do it because it's all they know. They do it because it's a learned type of behavior. Not that it makes it right. It means that generational curse needs to be cut and gotten away with. And a lot of times they say, I treat you this way because I love you. But love should never hurt. Love should never be painful. Love should never be one-sided. Love should never make you feel ugly, stupid, small, or like you're worth nothing. So when they say they do it because they love you, that's also a means of control. We can't give our control away to people. We have to understand that we are put on this earth with seeds and goodness and greatness, and that they need to come out. Abuse is never right. Abuse is always wrong. So I want to say, if you find yourself in one of these relationships, get out. You are worth more. Dr. Simone is getting ready to close the show, but I want to thank Jake Bell Entertainment Television for giving me the time to talk to you and tell you that you are amazing. If you want to talk to me, www.drsimone.com, or email me at info@yoursymmetricalself.com. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for always being here. Thank you for sharing your day, your Saturday with me. Put somebody on to this if they need it. And remember, you are golden, baby. Don't let anybody